Welcome to Search Online Academy. Today I'm going to continue with this series of questions and answers. So I'm doing the exercise on files. So here I've been doing some videos on this exercise. So here I'm going to do from question G up to the end of this exercise. This one. So I'm going to continue from here. The previous video that I've done, I've left on question E, so I'm going to continue from question F, but I've jumped this question F. So I'm going to start on question G. I'm going to explain why did I do so. So I'm going to start on question G up to question L, but guys, I'm going to explain. I'm going only to explain it line by line because I've already done the code. Why? Because I am trying to save the time, because I might not be able to do all several videos for all these questions in this period of time, because this is a question or a video on demand. Okay, so I'm going to do this question G, just going downwards. So let's start, guys. If you don't know this question, I think you have to go from the first video that I've explained about this question. That's where I give more explanation or more detail on this question. Okay, so in this question now we have the file that a document file that we are using, which is the student document file that we have. Okay, so let's start our session. Okay, so here, guys, let's read our question G. What does it say? This question is saying write a method calculate average mark which calculates the average mark for the first student, where average mark for test 1, test 2 and test 3, excuse me, which means we want to calculate the average mark for only the first student. And after calculating the average mark, then maybe you're going to print it or so. But here the main idea, we have to create the average, and this we have to calculate the average, and this average you are going to the inputs of the marks, we are going to read them from the file, and after that we add them. After adding them, we divide by the number of tests, which is what, 3, because we've got 3 tests, and then we add and we get the total and we divide it by 3. That's how are we going to get the what the average. So I didn't open the file, but maybe do I have the file? Okay, let me see. Student. Okay, here, this one. Here's the file that we are talking about, guys. So you see that here at the first line we've got daycare, blessing, kutama, mash waste, so blah blah, and this one is the age, this one is gender or sex, and here you see that we've got test mark, which is a double or a float. We have got the test mark 1, test 2, test 3. Okay, so you have to add these 3 marks for the first, only for the first what, for the first student. Okay, so if we come here on that's where I've done this code. So here I've declared a variable average, just to store our average at the end. And also I've created the total marks, so that when I add all the 3 marks, then I will put the answer in total, then I'll divide the total marks by what, by 3, so that we get the average. Okay, but here, guys, because it's G and H, the question H requires us to modify the answer that we get from G. So what I can tell you guys, what I've done here, simply remove just one single line so that our answer will match the answer needed at question H. So here on question G, what we only want to do was to read the file, and after reading the file, you have to skip all other things that we don't need, because we only want to calculate the average. So we need the last three values. So you have to skip using the next method in the scanner object. So here we read the line, the first line, okay. Here we read the whole document using the file, and then we read it, we put it in the scanner object. Then in the scanner object, using then sc.s next. His next method is going to test if we have any token or if we have any blank space characters in the what, in the file. So here we're going to read just the line, the first line from the scanner object, and then we put it in line, then in a string variable, and then here we start to skip each and every word until we are at the last three attributes that we have, which is test 1, test 2, test 3. And after that, guys, you see that I'm going to add the three values, and I'll store the total in total marks, and then I'll divide the total marks by 3, and I'll get the average, and then I'll print the average. That's all that you have to do to calculate the average. But here, guys, you have to know that it will loop up to until you reach the end of the file, but we don't need that at the question G. So what you have to do is only to dereference or to assign the scanner object to empty, so that it will be empty. So you can just simply say sc must be initialized, maybe new scanner object, just like this, and then inside here you just pass an empty string, just like this. It will only execute this while loop once. Why? Because when it reaches here, and it will only print the details of the first student, what will happen, it will dereference the object. Our object will be now having nothing in it, so here it will fail and it will not execute this loop again. So that's all about the question G. So to invoke this method, you are going to invoke it in main method. Okay, so that's all about question G, and we only need to remove this line of code that I've removed here. If you look, if you look here in question H, it says modify your method above so that it displays the average mark for every student in any document file with the same format and name. So you see that we want to modify this so that we can print the whole averages for the whole students. Okay, so what you have to do is to calculate each and every average for each and every student. So that's what you are going to do here, because I have removed that line that I was putting there. So it is going to loop in the while, it is going to iterate the while loop until it reaches the end of file, and it will be printing each and every average for each and every student. Okay, so that's all about the question G and H. So let's move to question I and J. On the question I and J, guys, let me see. Question I and J requires us to write a method create summary, which prints the summary details of the first student in another file called the student summary .doc created by your program in a folder called the student records, also created by your program. For daycare blessing, it should write, which is the first line, daycare blessing Kutama and the average mark, which means you are not going. So which means we are going to read the data from a student from the student file, and then we create another file using our program, and after that we create another file inside a directory called student records, and after that we write the details that we have read from the student file, and we write it into the new file that we have. So that's the task that we have to do, guys, on question I. So here's what I have done for you guys. Here see that here I have first created the directory, which is the student record. Here, guys, this one is the file path. Like if you just want your file student records to be in your C directory, you can simply append the student records here, just where I've put learn Java. But this is the file path. I've got already a folder called learn Java in C directory. So it will be like from C, and then from C drive. So from C to learn Java, and then to student records. So here I'm going to create a directory. I am going to make a directory here, this student records, and after that also I'm going to create a what now I'm going to create the file, the new file that is being needed, okay, that we have to write our data to, and I'm going to create that file using the file object. And here that file, we have already taught that if that file must be student summary file, okay, but because this file I've just modified the method so that it's you who is going to type the name of the file, but the name of the file, be mindful that we have already told that the file must be what student summary. So if you type student summary, it will go through here and then here, and then it will be here, it will be string concatenating, so that if you type student summary, then you concatenate with the .doc, so that it will become a document file. And after that, here I'm going to create the student file, which is the file that we have to write the new data, which will be residing in what, in the no guys, this is the student file, which means is the one that we are going to read data from, okay, the one that we already have, which holds all our data. I think this variable, I don't need it, I have to remove it, okay. And then guys, this is the method to make a directory, because here if you look, the question says that you have to make a directory, or you have to create a directory student records. So here, this is the method to create. So I have invoked this file object, and then I have used this method to make directories. So it is going to make my directory, this one student records, because all these ones, all these directories, I already have them on my drive. So it is only going to make these student records, and that is student records folder or directory, it is going to be in learn Java from C. That's how I access that folder. And after that, guys, I'm going to create a new file, because here the question says create, you have to create a what, here first student, another file called student summary. So I'm going to create another file called student summary using this method, file.create new file. So the method creating new file is the one that I'm going to use to create a new file, okay, which is and I'm using this object, guys, because that's where my file name is, okay. And then after that, I'm going to have a file writer object. File writer, guys, I'm going to use the file writer to write it to the file. I think you have to read about this, okay. You can use the buffered writer or file writer, okay. And then after that, I'm going to use here, this is the scanner object, and here I've passed the student file here, which is the file already, the student file that we already have, this one that we want to read the data from, okay. And so we are going to read the data from here, from the student file. And after that, I'm going to loop through, taking all the data that we need, okay, and then we write the data that we need to the file. So here you see that the data that we need from the question, if you look at the question, okay, if you come here, you see that we need the blessing kutama average and the average mark. So we don't need some, but we need this and this and this, which means we need the surname, name, and the province or so. I think it is the province, and then the average mark. So here I'm going to take surname, name, province, maybe age. I don't think so. I don't need this age. Don't need it. Okay. And I'm going to skip the word which is in between name and the province, and then I will take the province, and here I will skip the age and the following, which is the sex or so, gender. And then after that I'll take the test 1, test 2, test 3, and I'll calculate the average here, guys, because the last attribute is the average. And then I will use the writer object, which is the file writer. Here, the file writer object that I have created, I'll use the write method. The write method, you write a string to the file. So I'm going to put the surname here, which is the one that I've taken here from the student file, and then the name, the province, and the average. And after at the end of the file, I'll put a /n so that it will append, it will append, not append, but it will go on a next line. Okay, this is the new line character, so that after printing the first line, it will go on the second line, just like that. But here the method was requiring us to print just a single line. Okay, but here this method that I have done here, it will write the whole document. Why? Because I didn't dereference here this object here at the end of the, just at the end of our while loop. So I think that's the part of J, because the J part needs you to loop the whole file, write the whole file. Okay, so also you have to know that whenever you open a file, guys, you have to close it. So I have closed the file using the file writer object, then using the close method. So to close the file, it is always good to close your file whenever you open your file, though it can close the file on its own, but it is good also to do that. And then let's look what J was saying. It was saying modify your method above so that it writes the summary details of all students in any document file with the same format and name. So yeah, that's what I have already did, guys, that it is going to write the home data to our file. So that's all about question I and J. And then on question K, here you see that on question K, let me see, what is it saying? It is saying write a method add students, which allows me to add students to the file one at a time, which means, guys, we have got the user who wants to input the data and of a student one at a time, which means we have to ask him about the surname, name, all those details, age, gender, province, blah blah blah, up to test mark, up to test 3 mark. Okay, and then we write that data to the file. But here, guys, you have to know that you have to write that data just one line by one line, not to first take the data and then we put it on a linked list or any array list or on a certain data structure, and then we write it on the file after taking the data. No, it is not like that. But here we have to take the data and write it to the file. It's like taking from the input and then we forward it to the file, something like that. So here, that's what I have done here, guys. I have created a file here, guys, called the student summary. No, it was not supposed to be student summary, but you can give it any name because here it didn't specify. Yeah, maybe you can name it the any you can give it any name that you want here, guys. You can name a student file, but be in mind that we already have another student file, but I think it will be in a separate folder, so no problem. Okay, and then after that, we have the file writer object. Here I've already created the file writer object outside the try catch block, and then here I have got the file writer object, and I've passed this file object so that the file writer will point to the actual file that you want to write to. Okay, so that's this argument or this parameter says. And then after that, guys, I'm going to ask the user to enter the number of students that he or she want to input in to write to the file. If you want 5 students, you put 5 students. Okay, here I think this is an error. I will explain why. It's like if you want to put 5 students, you just say I want to put 5 students, and then the code will loop 5 times for you, and when you type the data or the details for just a single student, it will write it to the file just as you finish, and then it will loop again, write to the file, loop again, write to the file. So here, guys, if you say you need for example 2 students, here's the for loop, guys. And our I is initially assigned to 0, which means when I is less than number of students, if you put a 2 here, which means you need 2 students, which means is it 0 less than 2? Yes, then it will increment the value, and then get and then it will get inside and execute the code. And then here on the second iteration, I is equals to 1 is it less than 2? Yes, it will get in. And then when I is equal to 2, is it less than 2? No, which means you see that it have iterated only for 2 times, which means you are going to type in 2 students. And if you look at the at our code here, here I was only accepting the data from the user and then store it in the variables like surname, name, school name, everything. And then at the end, that's where I have put the data together using string concatenating. I've taken the surname, putting just a space so that I will write the data to the file. And I was using string concatenating, like surname, name, school name, so that it will become just a single string. And I initialized that to data. Okay, so that's what I have done here, guys. Oh, come on. Okay, yeah. Oh. Okay, let me do this. This is the line, guys, up to here. You see, this is the line concatenating, and then after that I will write the data using the file writer object, and then at the end of the line I'll put the escaping character, the new line character. Okay, so that the next data will be printed or will be written at the new line. And after that I will close my file, and then that's the end of this question. And then here on the question, if you look here, we have got a question A, which says create a menu using switch statement or otherwise which allows me to choose the operation I would like to perform, and after perform each operation your program should take me back to the main. So this question requires you to come up with the menu. It's either use a switch statement. Here it is using the switch statement, or you can use any other than the switch statement. Okay, and then after using that, you have to provide the menu so that someone can select from all these methods that we have done, guys. Someone can select from all those methods his choice or her choice. Okay, so I've used both the while loop and the switch statement to come up with the menu, and then the choice or the selection of the what of the use. So here is some of the, okay, let me do this. If I do this, so come here, this is the question L, guys. You see that I've declared this option variable, which is an integer variable, and I have initialized it to 0, and the choice I have initialized it to 0. And here, guys, I have here's the scanner object to take the input from the keyboard, and you see that here is the option, well, option variable that I already have here. So I'm saying while option is equal to 0, and I have already initialized it to 0 here. So if while option is equal to 0, keep running the code which is inside the while block. Okay, so you see here I've put my menu. Here is the menu, and I want to display student details, which means I'm going to call the method to display student details inside. If someone clicks 1, if someone clicks 2, I'm going to display important details. If someone clicks 3, I'm going to calculate the average. If someone clicks 4, I'm going to create what? And write student summary file details. And then if someone enter 5, I will add students, which is the last method that we have been doing. So, and then after that, I will take the choice. Okay, here I will request the choice from the user. So it is going to print all the whole menu, and then it will wait for the user to put the value. And after that, I pass that value into the switch statement. Here on switch statement, I'm saying on case 1, I'm going to do what the user selected here. So I'm going to ask the user to enter the file name, the file that you want me to display, which is the student file. Okay, so someone is going to put a student as the file name, and then I will display it using the display student detail, which is the method that we have done in the first video. Maybe I think so, it is the first video. And then here I come to case 2. If someone choose case 2, I'll do the same. I will invoke the method which is display important details. Okay, if someone put 3, which is the case number 3, guys, then I will be going to enter the file name, and then I'm going to calculate the average. And then on case number 4, I'm going to create a summary, student summary file. And then at the number 5, I will be adding student to the new file, or to the file. Okay, excuse me. So if I run this whole thing, I want you to notice how my menu is going to appear, and how this question I managed to answer it. Okay, also there's something that I didn't explain to you guys. You see that how is it going to loop up to the main menu? It's like if someone here at the end of the while loop, at the end of the switch, outside the switch, I have put something here like enter 0 to continue and 1 to exit. So if someone put a 0, I am going to put it in option, so that it goes back on the where there is a while loop. Put 0, you see that here it will keep running this while loop. But if you put a 1, it is going to exit, because option will be equal to 1. And then this will be false, and it will not going to execute this. So when I run this, guys, this is what we got here. It is saying here is the menu, you see. Then enter 1 to display student details, 2 to display important details, to calculate average, to create and write blah blah blah. So here I'm going to choose 1 to display student details. Then it asks me the file name, and then I'm going to type student and then you see that it displays all the student details, and it is still asking me enter 0 to continue and 1 to exit. If I put a 0, it will give me the menu again. And if I put 3 to calculate the average, then it asks me the file name, and if I put a student, it will calculate the average for me for all students. And if now it asks me again to either to continue or to exit, and if I put 1, it will exit. Okay, so that was the requirement from the questionnaire. So I have to say thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope I have done all the things that you were looking for this exercise. So I have to say, keep supporting me, guys. Keep watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So meet until on the next video. Thank you.